But we as a continent have now defined ourselves.
In the news, fixing health sector important than buying COVID-19 vaccines, Bill Gates to Nigerian government. The House of Reps will pass PIB into law in April, from Bajamia Miller. Across Africa, Eritrean forces should leave Ethiopia's Tigray immediately, says the United States. On the global scene, Delhi police detained 200 after farmers' protest. In business, Nigeria's company income tax revenue drops to 1.14 trillion naira in 2020. And in sports, FIFA clears 8 players for Super Eagles. Details shortly. Hello and welcome to TOS TV, your digital-first Pan-African news network. I am Stephanie Odia and this is TOS News 360. American philanthropist and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates says Nigeria does not need to spend too much on acquiring COVID-19 vaccines, but should rather focus more on revitalizing the weak and underfunded health sector, especially the primary healthcare centers. Gates said this while responding to a question posed by The Punch during an interview with select African journalists on Tuesday. The Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ehanire, had in December informed the Senate that Nigeria would require over 400 billion naira to vaccinate 70% of Nigeria's population at $8 per vaccine. When asked if it was appropriate for Nigeria to spend such a huge sum of money on vaccine acquisition in the midst of other issues plaguing the health sector, Gates said, "There is no doubt that the impact of putting money into the health system, particularly the primary healthcare system, will be very high in terms of saving children's lives, and you are absolutely right." Gates said Nigeria could also rely largely on groups like Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance for COVID-19 vaccines. He argued that investing in the primary health system would improve coverage and build Nigeria's response in tackling other diseases. The Speaker, House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, has reiterated the commitment of the Parliament to passing the Petroleum Industry Bill, PIB, into law in April this year. The Speaker gave the assurance while making his remarks at the public hearing organized by the Ad Hoc Committee of the House on PIB currently ongoing. He, however, said that the speed of the passage would not diminish the thoroughness the lawmakers were expected to give to the bill. He said, and I quote, "We tend to pass this bill by April. That is the commitment we have made. Some may consider it a tall order, but we will do it without compromising the thoroughness," end of quote. Also speaking, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Temipre Silva, expressed happiness that after 20 years of its introduction to the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House have shown sustained determination to pass the bill into law. Similarly, the Group Managing Director, GMD of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mele Kyari, offered a glimpse of hope that oil will still be relevant in the next 30 years. To this end, President Muhammadu Buhari on September 20th, 2020, retransmitted the bill to the National Assembly, for which the House was supposed to hold a public hearing. Now, in a public presentation on electoral violence in Edo and Ondo 2020 governorship elections on Tuesday, Executive Director Kim Park's Development Initiative, Bukola Idowu, in his presentation of the final report, gave a breakdown from the researches done in both states of the risk factors that are likely to cause electoral violence.
For Edo State, and this is for Ondo State, what most of the people, the respondents are saying, look, if care is not taken, these are the things that are going to, the factors that are likely going to cause violence in that election. Number one, that top for Edo is political thuggery. For Ondo, the next thing is that vote buying. Vote buying also came second in Edo and in Ondo. The next one is partiality of INEC. For Edo, partiality of INEC come distance number 6 or thereabout. But for Ondo, it came number 3.
Edo State overall report says 25 cases of violence pre-elections were recorded. Now 37 during the election and 1 post-election. On the potential for violence, there were 36 cases pre-elections, 37 during the election and 2 post-election. For Ondo State's overall report, there were 36 cases of violence pre-election, 12 during the election and 3 post-election. Also, 64 potential for violence cases were recorded pre-election, 87 during the election and 6 post-election. Now, the UN Women, in a commendation letter to the governor dated January 26, 2021, signed by a UN Women representative to Nigeria and ECOWAS, Ms. Comfort Lamte, particularly commended the governor for giving opportunities to women to harness their contributions in governance at the local level. Now, the UN Women commended the governor for building an inclusive and gender-sensitive local governance system in Kogi State through the appointment of women as vice chairpersons in all the 21 local government areas of the state. She said, and I quote, "I would like to further thank you for pushing forward the global agenda on gender equality and female political participation in the country. In the same vein, I would be honored to pay you a courtesy visit in the week beginning Monday, February 1st, to discuss opportunities to support the ongoing efforts of your government in supporting women empowerment and gender equality in Kogi State, and also to explore possibilities for collaboration and partnership to support the newly appointed sworn deputy LGA chairpersons to succeed in their new roles," end of quote, Lamte said. And this is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360, stories from across Africa in a moment. Do stay tuned. The United States has said all soldiers from Eritrea should leave Ethiopia's embattled Tigray region immediately. Now, the Eritreans have been fighting on the side of Ethiopian forces as they pursue fugitive leaders of the Tigray region through Ethiopia's government, although Ethiopia's government has denied their presence. The statement said the U.S. stance has shifted dramatically from the early days of the conflict when the Donald Trump administration praised Eritrea for its restraint. The new U.S. statement called for an independent and transparent investigation into alleged abuses. It remains unclear how many Eritrean soldiers are in Tigray or precisely where, it said. It was not immediately clear whether the U.S. has addressed its demand directly to Eritrean officials. The U.S. also seeks an immediate stop to the fighting in Tigray and full, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access to the region, which remains largely cut off from the outside world, with Ethiopian forces often accompanying aid. In a statement, it says, "We are gravely concerned by credible reports that hundreds of thousands of people may starve to death if urgent humanitarian assistance is not mobilized immediately," the statement read. The U.S. also said dialogue is essential between the government and Tigrayans. Dozens of people died Wednesday in Cameroon when a bus collided with a truck off a cliff in the country's west province of Chang in the Menua region. It was not clear what caused the accident, but both vehicles went up in flames during the collision. The truck was reportedly carrying adulterated fuel when the accident occurred. The number of deaths have not been confirmed, but sources said the passenger bus was carrying about 70 people. Several others have reportedly sustained various degrees of injuries and taken to the Chang hospital. Hundreds of residents in Mozambique's Buzi district are waiting at the Guara administrative post to be evacuated after their houses were destroyed by Cyclone Eliois. Some residents who spoke to a local daily Notices says they've been queuing for 3 days now. The National Institute for Disaster Risk Management and Reduction says the operations are being carried out in a way that ensures everyone's safety. Some of those being evacuated are being taken to private homes, while others are taken to accommodation centers. Evacuations from the village started on 20th of January, 3 days before the district was hit by Cyclone Eloise with winds between 120 km per hour and 150 km per hour and heavy rains that exceeded 200 millimeters in 12 hours. The INGD says many people ignored the warnings and the first evacuees were taken to Guara Guara almost by force, Nosticia's report. More and more families keep arriving at the administrative posts, and it's unclear how long it will take to evacuate them. A Sierra Leonean man and his American friend will on Wednesday complete their long walk campaigning for an end to sexual violence in Sierra Leone. The two have trekked more than 482 kilometers in 20 days from the far east end of the country in Calhoun district to the capital, Freetown. They will arrive in the city center on Wednesday. While on their journey, they've symbolically washed the feet of dozens of women in many towns and villages as an atonement for the sexual violence men have committed against women and girls in the country. They say they want to raise funds to buy a mobile forensic lab which will help gather evidence to prosecute rape offenders. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS TV. You're watching TOS News 360. Stories from the international scene in a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back, and moving on. Police have detained 200 protesters following Tuesday's deadly violence in India's capital, Delhi, during a massive protest against agricultural reforms. And thousands of farmers clashed with police as protesters on the outskirts of the city forced their way in. One protester died and more than 300 police officers were injured. Blaming the chaos on rogue elements among an otherwise peaceful march, most farmers' leaders said they would not call off their protest. Those detained are being held on charges of rioting, damaging public property, and attacking police personnel. So far, 22 police complaints have been registered. India's government deployed 15 companies of paramilitaries to boost security after the protest, which also saw some farmers storming the city's historic Red Fort and occupying the ramparts until police drove them out. The government says its reforms will liberalize the sector, but farmers say they will be poorer as a result. Tens of thousands of them have been striking on the outskirts of Delhi since November, demanding that the laws be repealed. Last week, they rejected the government's offer to put the changes on hold. Farmers fear that the new laws will threaten decades-old concessions, such as assured prices, and weaken their bargaining power, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation by private companies. And in the tech sector, Google is reviving plans to launch its own news website in Australia within weeks, according to a local media outlet contracted to provide articles for the venture as the search giant fights world-first proposed laws on content payment. The launch of the news showcase product as early as next month is Google's latest tactic in a high-profile campaign against the Australian government's planned legislation to make the company pay local news providers for content that appears in its search engine. Under the planned laws, Google and social media behemoth Facebook Inc. must negotiate binding commercial contracts with Australian outlets whose content drives traffic to their platforms. If they can't strike a deal, the government will appoint an arbitrator to do it for them. Google has argued that the legislation, which is currently the subject of a parliamentary inquiry, but expected to be passed into law soon, is unworkable. This is your digital first Pan-African news network, TOS TV. You are watching TOS News 360. Still ahead, business and sports. Stay tuned. And in business, Boeing 737 MAX airliner is safe to return to service in Europe. The European Union Aviation Safety Agency said on Wednesday, lifting a 22-month flight ban after 2 crashes of the jet, which caused about 346 deaths. It said, and I quote, "We have every confidence that the aircraft is safe, which is the precondition for giving our approval. But we will continue to monitor 737 MAX operations closely as the aircraft resumes service," EASA Executive Director Patrick Kai said. And Nigeria's company income tax revenue stood at 1.41 trillion in 2020, indicating a 13.35% decline when compared to 1.63 trillion naira recorded in the previous year. This is according to the latest CIT report released by the National Bureau of Statistics. According to the report, the latest figure represents the second consecutive drop in the company's income tax revenue. The 1.41 trillion CIT collection represents a 13.4% decline as against 1.62 trillion naira in 2019 and a 0.49% decline when the company compared to 1.42 trillion naira recorded in 2018. The textile and garment industry recorded the highest year-on-year increase in CIT remittances as it increased its company income tax by 100.23% from 179.8 million naira recorded in 2019 to 359.9 million in 2020. The decline in company income tax could be attributed to the disruption caused by the COVID-induced lockdown, which affected most business organizations for most parts of the year. And moving on to sports, Odion Ighalo has written an emotional Manchester United farewell message as his time at Old Trafford comes to an end. The 30-year-old striker's loan from Chinese side Shanghai Shenhua expires at the end of this month. The Nigerian international joined United in January last year on an initial 6-month deal that was later extended to 12 months. Ighalo scored about 5 goals in 18 appearances during the 2019 to 2020 campaign as he proved a useful backup option for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Ighalo has now posted a heartfelt message on Instagram which reads, "It's so hard to see this dream come to an end, but I give God the glory for helping me fulfill this lifelong dream of putting on a Manchester United shirt as a player and represent this great club. It was indeed an honor I will forever cherish and be grateful for." And more stories on sports. FIFA has cleared 8 new players for the Super Eagles. Fulham's forward Ademola Lookman is on top of the list. Others include Jordan of Heather BSC, Nathan Teller of Southampton FC, Tosin Adarobayo of Fulham FC, Ovie with Reading FC, Noni Madueke of PSV, Shei Ojo with Cardiff City, and Ike Ugbo of Sekelbrugge. And that is TOS News 360 on your digital first Pan-African news network. For more updates, do visit our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. Do like and follow TOS TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to also subscribe on YouTube. TOS TV is also available on TSTV as TOS News Channel 138. To stay with us and enjoy more programs on TOS TV Network. I am Stephanie Odia, and bye for now.